You think your life is stable, routine, love, trust. Then boom, betrayal. The woman you trusted? Lying, laughing, sneaking around. But I didn't just take it. I made her regret everything. My name's Mike. I'm 32, and for the past 5 years, I've been married to Melanie. She's 28, beautiful in that effortless way, and she knew it. She worked at some high-end boutique that sold dresses worth more than our rent. She loved her job, or at least she loved the image it gave her, surrounded by elegance, wealth, and the kind of life she always wanted but could never quite have. Meanwhile, I was a waiter. I worked long shifts, dealt with customers who barely saw me as human, and came home every night exhausted but satisfied that I was doing my part. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. And up until recently, I thought we were both in this together, grinding through life side by side. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. The signs weren't subtle, I just refused to see them. It started with little things. Melanie used to be the type to come home, kick off her shoes, and collapse on the couch. We'd order takeout, watch whatever was on Netflix, and talk about our day. But somewhere along the way, that changed. She started dressing differently. At first, I chalked it up to her job. After all, she worked in fashion. But there was a new energy to it. She wasn't just putting in effort, she was curating a look, every detail thought out. Expensive perfume I hadn't bought her. A new gym membership, even though she had never stepped foot in one before. And then, there was her phone, always in her hand, always lighting up, and always locked. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. Every couple goes through phases, right? Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe she needed space. Maybe, just maybe, I was imagining things. Then the late night started. Inventory. Last-minute meetings. Drinks with a coworker. The excuses piled up, each one more unconvincing than the last. I tried to ignore the growing pit in my stomach, but the truth was gnawing at me. Then, one night, everything changed. I was supposed to work a double shift. I was dead on my feet, so I called in sick for the second half. I figured I'd go home, take a long shower, and maybe even surprise Melanie with dinner. But when I pulled into our parking lot, her car wasn't there. That was weird. She hadn't mentioned working late. I didn't panic, yet. Instead, I went inside, kicked off my shoes, and sat on the couch. That's when my phone buzzed. It was a notification from our shared phone plan. A number I didn't recognize kept appearing in her call history. Over, and over, and over. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding in my ears. I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't paranoid. Something was very, very wrong. And I was about to find out just how deep this betrayal went. They say betrayal doesn't happen in a single moment, it builds up over time, like cracks in a windshield. Small at first, barely noticeable. Then, one day, everything shatters. That was exactly what happened to me. I had been married to Melanie for 5 years. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. She worked at some high-end boutique, always surrounded by luxury she couldn't afford. I worked as a waiter, working hard to make sure the bills got paid. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. Or at least, I thought it was. Looking back, I feel like a fool for not seeing the signs sooner. She started dressing differently, tighter clothes, fresh perfume, new lingerie that, surprise, surprise, wasn't for me. She laughed at texts she wouldn't let me see. She started going out more, working late, and coming home at odd hours, always with a perfectly rehearsed excuse. But the real wake-up call came one night when I was supposed to work a double shift. I was exhausted, so I called in sick for the second half. I figured I'd go home, maybe surprise Melanie with dinner. Instead, I pulled into our parking lot and saw that her car wasn't there. No text, no call, just gone. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe she ran an errand. But then, my phone buzzed a notification from our shared phone plan. A number I didn't recognize. And it wasn't just once. Dozens of calls. Late at night. Early in the morning. Always when I wasn't home. My stomach twisted. I told myself to stay calm, to be rational. But deep down, I knew. I just didn't have proof. So, I waited. Over the next week, I watched everything. When she came home late, I noted the time. When she left, I checked how long she was gone. The inconsistencies piled up, and the more I saw, the angrier I got. Then, one night, fate gave me an opening. Melanie was in the shower. Her phone, her always locked, never leaves her side phone, was on the nightstand. My heart was pounding as I grabbed it. Locked, of course. But people are predictable. I tried her birthday. No luck. Our anniversary? Still nothing. Then, on a hunch, I tried the year she graduated college. Unlocked. I barely breathed as I scrolled. And then I saw it. A conversation with D. I clicked, and my stomach dropped. Flirty messages. Complaints about how boring I was. Talks about how exciting he made her feel. Then, the pictures. Not just suggestive. The kind that made my blood boil. The kind that made my hands shake so hard I almost dropped the phone. Everything inside me screamed to storm into the bathroom, confront her, demand to know how long she had been making a fool out of me. But then, something changed. My breathing steadied. My anger sharpened. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to make her regret every single second of this. She thought she was playing a game. She had no idea who she was up against. I've always believed that revenge should be slow, like a fire that starts as a single spark but grows into an inferno, consuming everything in its path. Screaming, fighting, or throwing a tantrum. That's amateur. I wanted her to suffer. I wanted her to feel every single ounce of humiliation, fear, and betrayal that she had put me through. So, I sat down, made a list, and started planning. Step 1. Psychological warfare. Before I destroyed her life, I wanted to make her question reality. If you make someone doubt their own mind, they destroy themselves before you even lift a finger. It started small. I reset her alarm 10 minutes early. She started waking up groggy, confused, thinking she had overslept. She blamed stress. Perfect. I swapped her expensive shampoo with hair removal cream. Not enough to make her bald, but just enough for her to notice more and more hair falling out in the shower. She panicked, booked a salon appointment, spent hundreds on treatments. I smiled. Then, the itching cream. I replaced her luxury face cream with a mild itching lotion. Her skin turned red and irritated. She thought she was having an allergic reaction. She threw away all her skincare products. At this point, she was so on edge that every little thing made her snap. She started fighting with her coworkers, lashing out at friends, and most importantly, getting sloppy. Step 2. Sabotage the affair. I needed to break her perfect little fantasy before I truly went in for the kill. First, I found out everything I could about D. Turns out, he was married. With kids. Oh, and the best part? His wife was rich. As in, she owned the house, the cars, the accounts, everything. He was mooching off of her while sneaking around with my wife. So, I did what any reasonable person would do. I sent D's wife a package. A little gift. Inside? Screenshots of every conversation between him and Melanie. Timestamped pictures of them entering a hotel together. Receipts from romantic dinners, paid for with our joint account. Within 2 days, she went scorched earth. She kicked him out, cut off his credit cards, and filed for divorce. Oh, and she made it public. She told all their friends, family, coworkers. Dee lost everything overnight. And the best part? Melanie had no idea I was behind it. All she knew was that her soulmate was now jobless, homeless, and drowning in legal fees. She tried calling him. No answer. She texted him. Blocked. She showed up at his old house. His wife threatened to call the police. I watched her break. Step 3. Financial devastation. This part? This was personal. She used our money to cheat. To buy gifts, book hotels, go on dates. So, I took all of it back. For months, I had been quietly moving money out of our joint account. She didn't notice, she was too busy sneaking around. One day, she woke up, checked her bank app, and found $87. The rent was due in a week. Her car payments? Overdue. The credit card she had been using? Maxed out. She tried calling the bank, screaming. They told her the transfers were legitimate. She had nothing. Then, she got fired. I had anonymously sent an email to her company, exposing her workplace affair. The boutique she worked at? Strict code of conduct. No dating clients. No public scandals. By the end of the week, she was unemployed. Step 4. Public humiliation. I was about to deliver the final blow. I printed out every text, every email, every revealing little exchange between her and D. Put it all in an envelope. Addressed it to her parents. The day it arrived, she called me, sobbing, begging me to take her back. I didn't answer. She tried to explain to her parents, but the evidence was right there. Her father disowned her. Her mother cried for hours. She wasn't just broke and jobless now. She was completely alone. Step 5. The grand finale. By the end of the month, she had to move back in with her parents. No job, no boyfriend, no friends. no future. Meanwhile, I took a vacation to the Maldives with her money. And let me tell you, revenge tastes better on a beach. Cheaters never expect consequences. They think they can sneak around, lie, manipulate, and when the truth comes out, they assume they'll just walk away, maybe a little bruised, but ultimately unscathed. That's what my wife thought. She believed I'd yell, cry, maybe even beg her to stay. She thought I'd be just another man too weak to do anything about it. She was wrong. I wasn't just going to expose her. I wasn't just going to ruin her. I was going to make sure that every single aspect of her life collapsed in a way she'd never recover from. And just when she thought it was over, I'd make sure she got one final lesson in karma. Melanie had already lost everything. Her job, her money, her reputation. She had been forced to move back in with her parents, a fate worse than death for someone who had spent her life pretending to be better than everyone else. Most people would say this was enough revenge, that she had suffered enough. But I wasn't done yet. She thought she could fix things. She had a plan, one last desperate attempt to manipulate her way back into my life. She tried reaching out through mutual friends, acting remorseful, spreading the idea that she had made a mistake, that she was just confused. The same tired script cheaters always use. She wasn't sorry for what she did, she was sorry she got caught. I decided to let her believe she had a chance. I let our mutual friends carry messages back and forth, let her think I was processing things. In reality, I was setting up the final phase of my plan. She agreed to meet. She thought it was going to be some emotional, heartfelt reconciliation. She had spent hours rehearsing her lines, crafting her perfect speech about how she had changed. What she didn't know was that I had already moved on. The moment she walked into that coffee shop, she realized her mistake. She saw me sitting there, relaxed, happy, completely unaffected by her presence. And next to me, a beautiful woman. Someone new. Someone better. Someone who knew exactly what she had done to me and was more than happy to be part of her final humiliation. Melanie stopped in her tracks. She wasn't expecting this. She had come to win me back, but I had already erased her from my life. There was no yelling, no dramatic confrontation, just the quiet, crushing realization that she had been completely, permanently replaced. She left quickly, humiliated beyond words. She had come to beg, only to see that I had already moved on without a second thought. But that wasn't the end. Even after everything, she tried again. A few weeks later, she sent me a long, rambling message. She talked about memories, emotions, regrets, all the things she thought would tug at my heartstrings. But all I saw was desperation. She wasn't sorry. She just didn't know how to function without me. I ignored her. But I wasn't going to let her walk away that easily. I knew she was trying to rebuild her life. A new job, a new city, a fresh start. She thought she could outrun her past. But I made sure she never escaped it. I made sure every potential employer knew exactly who she was. I had proof of her workplace affair, and I sent it to every hiring manager she applied to. Every interview ended the same way, a polite rejection. She was stuck. No career, no reputation, no hope. Forced into low-paying, dead-end jobs, drowning in the same misery she once looked down on. The friends she had before? Gone. No one wanted to associate with her. Her family barely spoke to her. She was utterly, completely alone. And then, when she was at her lowest, she tried one last time. A final text. No grand speech, no manipulations, just a simple plea for forgiveness. I thought about responding. I thought about sending one last message, telling her exactly how much I enjoyed watching her life collapse. Instead, I just blocked her. She had already lost. There was nothing left to say. Months later, I heard through a mutual friend that she was still stuck in the same miserable cycle. No career, no friends, just an endless loop of regret and failure. Meanwhile, I had rebuilt my life. A better job, a better relationship, a better future. She thought she was going to destroy me. Instead, she destroyed herself. Cheaters always think the worst is over, that once the fight is done, the secrets are out, and the damage is dealt, life will eventually let them move on. They think they can outrun their past, reinvent themselves, slip into a new life where the consequences no longer follow. But some mistakes don't just go away. Some haunt you forever. Melanie thought she had hit rock bottom. She thought she had suffered enough. She lost her job, her money, her reputation. She had tried to manipulate her way back into my life and failed spectacularly. She had tried to outrun her past, only to realize her past followed her everywhere. She was broke, unemployable, unwanted. But even then, she didn't truly understand what she had done. Because I was about to learn one final, beautiful truth. Months passed. I had moved on completely. I was living in a new city, had a new job, a new relationship. My life had never been better. Melanie was nothing more than a memory I had deleted, just like she had tried to delete me from her life when she was sneaking around with her little boyfriend. Then, one evening, a message appeared from an unknown number. I didn't recognize it at first, but the moment I read it, I knew exactly who it was from. Melanie. A short, desperate, pathetic message. She wanted to talk. She wanted to explain. She wanted to fix things. I almost laughed. Fix what? She had already burned our marriage to the ground. There was nothing left. But curiosity got the best of me. I wasn't going to respond, not yet. But I wanted to know why she was reaching out now. So I dug. A few calls to old mutual friends, a quick check on social media, and suddenly, everything made sense. Her life hadn't just fallen apart. It had collapsed beyond anything I had planned. Her financial struggles had gotten worse. She had gone from dead-end job to dead-end job, never staying anywhere long enough to build any stability. People didn't trust her. Employers saw something was off, and every promising interview turned into a polite rejection. At first, I thought it was just the natural consequences of her actions. But then, I found out the truth. Her reputation had spread. She had tried dating again, hoping to find someone to save her from the wreckage of her own making. But every time she met a man she was interested in, he would eventually go cold. Conversations would fizzle out. Plans would be canceled. Some even ghosted her completely. And then, she discovered why. Every single man she met already knew about her. She had become a cautionary tale. Screenshots of her affair had been posted online. A thread had circulated in multiple relationship groups, exposing her as a cheater, a liar, a manipulator. Some of the women in these groups had warned their male friends about her. It spread further than she ever imagined. It didn't matter where she moved, who she met, or how much time passed. Her past followed her. And the best part? I didn't even have to do it. I had no idea who started it. Maybe it was Dee's ex-wife. Maybe it was one of her former friends. Maybe it was just karma doing what karma does best. But either way, it didn't matter. Because Melanie had officially become undateable. For someone like her, that was worse than losing money. Worse than losing a job. Worse than anything I could have ever planned for her. She had spent her entire life using relationships for validation, convincing herself she was better than the people around her. And now, she was nothing. No job. No money. No home of her own. No future. She had tried everything to escape it. Changing jobs, moving cities, even trying to change her name online. But it didn't matter. The internet never forgets, and neither do the people you betray. That's when I knew she had truly, finally broken. She had reached out not because she wanted me back, but because I was the last person who ever truly cared about her. The last person she thought might help her rebuild her life. And that's what made it so satisfying when I ignored her message. I didn't need to respond. I didn't need to gloat. I didn't need to say anything at all. She already knew. She had made her choices. And now, she was paying for them. Forever. Months passed, then a year. Every once in a while, I'd hear about her through mutual friends, still struggling, still desperate, still alone. She tried to go back to school, but couldn't afford it. She tried reconnecting with old friends, but nobody trusted her. Her parents tolerated her presence, but had lost all respect for her. Meanwhile, I had built a new life. A better job, a better home, a woman who actually respected me. The past was truly behind me. But Melanie? She was stuck, trapped in her own self-made prison, where every door she tried to open led her right back to the consequences she tried to escape. And that was the greatest revenge of all. She wanted excitement, chaos, and danger. She wanted a life outside our marriage. She got exactly what she asked for. And now, she'd never get anything else. Time doesn't heal all wounds. Some scars stay forever, and some choices can never be undone. Melanie thought she could cheat, walk away, and eventually rebuild. She believed that life would forgive her, that the world would let her move on. She never realized that some mistakes don't just hurt in the moment. They shape the rest of your life. I had moved on. I was in a new city, in a new relationship, living a new life. But for Melanie, there was no fresh start, no reset button, no way to outrun the past she had built for herself. The final act of karma had played out, and the best part? I didn't have to do a thing. It started with her trying to find a way out. She needed stability, money, security, a new relationship to pull her out of the mess she had made. But every attempt failed before it even started. Every job interview ended the same way, a polite rejection. Every new city she tried to move to had someone who already knew about her past. She would get excited about a new opportunity, only to have it slip through her fingers. She had burned so many bridges that she had nowhere left to go. The dating scene was worse. She had spent her life using men as stepping stones, convincing herself she deserved someone better. But now, she was the one being rejected. Every promising conversation would eventually turn cold. Men stopped calling, stopped texting, disappeared without explanation. She didn't understand why until one day she did. Her name had become a warning. Screenshots of her affair were still floating around in private groups. People had shared her story, warned their friends, posted reminders that she wasn't worth the risk. No matter where she went, her reputation followed. And just like that, the woman who had once thought she could have anyone, do anything, and face no consequences, became undateable. Her family barely tolerated her. They let her stay, but only because they had no choice. They didn't respect her anymore. She was a disappointment, a burden. The daughter they no longer looked at the same way. She was stuck in a cycle of failure, loneliness, and regret. And the best part? It was forever. She wanted excitement, chaos, and adventure. She threw away a stable life, a loyal husband, a future. And now, she had exactly what she asked for: chaos, instability, loneliness. Meanwhile, I thrived. I had built something new, something better. The past didn't haunt me. It had only made me stronger. I had someone who respected me, a life I was proud of, and a future free of betrayal. Melanie thought she was playing a game, that she could cheat and win. But in the end, she didn't just lose me. She lost everything.